The question, Trayvon Martin, 1 year later, what have we learned? And I'd like to start with you, Roland, because you wrote a piece on CNN.com titled Trayvon Martin Did Not Die in Vain, writing in part, quote, even though the trial of Zimmerman won't take place until June, almost 16 months after the fatal shooting of Trayvon, a lot of things have changed and are in the process of being debated. So what are some of those things?
First thing, a lot of us had no idea about stand your ground law and how they were significant all across this country. Also, the American Legislative Exchange Council, a group that was supposed to be about tax policy, we learned as a result of this that they were actually behind these kind of laws, behind voter ID laws. And after change.org began to launch the petitions against those companies pulled back and they said, you know what, we're going to stop doing some of these different things. We also, of course, remember the Department of Justice, they're investigating the Sanford Police Department because of their actions as well. It has also caused people to recognize that they have to pay attention to local races like district attorney and prosecutors, those kind of races, and local judges, because that's where a lot of the decisions were made. Remember, the Seminole County DA was the one who chose not to initially charge George Zimmerman. And so I think a number of things have happened since the last year that have been productive and positive.
And Amy, what do you think has changed, if anything?
Well, I think, if anything, Carol, we've learned that we need to let the court system work and let justice be served. Too many times there's so much commentary and the media is involved. And we saw reports come out from another network that were edited and it wasn't the full and accurate report. And so people jump to conclusions. We need to let the court system work and let justice be served. And, you know, since then, unfortunately, we've had other incidents with guns. And we know that that's an issue that's going on right now and being debated in our society. So we're going to have to wait and see where that takes us.
Except one thing, Amy, the reason we are even at this point now is because there were people on social media, folks in media, bloggers who were pushing this case. Remember, Zimmerman wasn't even arrested. The family said, at least let's have a collection of evidence. And so it was the media pressure. It was the pressure of the people in the streets. It even got us to this point. The parents simply said, let's have a day in court. That's an important distinction, because without all of that, we wouldn't even be where we are today.
Well, and you know what, Roland, you make a good point, because social media has become such an integral part of our lives, and it pushes a lot of things now. I mean, we've talked about that before on air. So, yes, it has played a part in it. But you know what? I mean, we go back to look at the violence in Chicago. Look at these other cities where people are being murdered, and nobody's even really talking about it till after Newtown.
Folks like me have been.
Well, and I commend you for that, because it's really, really important. I mean, when you have 6-month-old or younger infants being murdered in cars in Chicago and nobody's talking about it, that is just a shame. We seriously have a problem, and I've said before on air that I think it has to do with so much violence in movies and video games and other aspects of our lives. But look, I think the courts need to work and let justice be served here.
Okay, we're going to wrap up this question.